Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to set up and play the Battle for Ramadi, the final assault on the city, 22 to 28 December 2015. Game designed by Jay Ward, art by Ilya, I screw up her name, and published by Tiny Battle. So on the back of the rulebook, before I get into it, when I did the bag opening, talking about the quality of components, it's a little thing, but if you notice, these Ziploc bags have nice big tabs or to grab onto. That's quality, guys. On both the bags. Now this smaller bag, you could put your counters in. I chose to use my favorite little containers. One, because I got them sorted by, as you'll see here for the setup. So on the back of the rule book is the setup for your initial forces. You have the north, west, and south. This is your north zone, these two squares here. West is these 5. And on the opposite side of the Euphrates River and the Euphrates Channel is the south zone. 2 squares here. Okay, so I've already taken the units and split them as per this ISF setup table. So for example, these are the units that go in the south. Now keep in mind, you're limited to stacking of two counters at the end of your movement phase. So obviously during placement that would apply as well. And then a little note about stacking. The order matters. So you're going to have 2 units. So for example, let's take an extreme example here. Okay. We have this army, which is 3, and we have this emergency battalion, which has got a combat strength of 1. If it's stacked this way, this adds up to 4, 3 plus 1. The unit on the top is the first casualty taken when a casualty is required to be taken. If we stack it this way, this now becomes the first casualty taken, but that 3 cannot be greater than the 1 in resolving combat. So this is considered a 1 and a 1 for a total of 2. So you have to decide how you want to go into combat with a variable adjustment on your combat strength. Again, casualties taken, the weaker one would go here and leave behind stronger unit, or conversely, if you happen to take a casualty, you're going to lose this unit and leave behind a weaker unit. But this is 4 combat and that is 2. Okay, so with that in mind, obviously it doesn't matter here with a 2 and a 2. I'm going to stack the police 2 and 1. I'm going to put them in this little opening here, and we're going to go 3, 2. Put them in that urban hex. Okay, so this unit here, what do we got? Okay. We've got 2 army, well 3 army, okay. 2 of the CTS, and these are the elite units. You'll notice that they're fairly strong, of 4. 1 militia and 1 police, okay. And there she is. She's been off sleeping. I break out the game and it's like she knows. Okay, little girl. This is not going to work. Nope, 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 nope. Come on. Okay. So this unit is actually goes to the north. Okay. Again, look here. Let me do that again so you can see. So the north, I don't want to have to give her a room timeout, so we're going to play nice with her and see how it works. Okay. This won't work though. Missy, come on. Okay. Okay. she's not gonna cooperate, I don't think. So those units are going to be placed in these 4 hexes up here. So that's 2, 2, 2, and 1. So I think what I want to do is I want to go, because, so victory conditions in this game. There's 10 turns, okay? At the end of 10 turns, the side with the most victory points wins with one other condition, and that is ISF has to take over the government complex. That must be in our control. If not, regardless of the victory points, we lose. Okay? So with that in mind, I'm going to put a pretty strong force up here. Go 4-3 and a 4-2. It's kind of a spearhead. I'm going to take a 2-2 and then a 1 by itself. I'm probably not going to survive. Down here. Now, another thing about this map, we have a justice compound, the government complex, which is key, hospital, Grand Mosque, and 2 different stadiums. Or station, a stadium and a station. I called that a stadium. It's a rail station. Each of these are worth victory points. Each of the urban hexes are worth victory points as well. There is the glass factory. Now, these outside, north of the river, north of the Euphrates, and west of the Euphrates Canal, are not considered in the contested area, which is this part of the map here. So these are not considered victory points, okay? So even though yeah, okay, no. So the glass factory over here is not worth victory points. Okay, so we've got our north set up, and we're going to set up our west zone. West zone is actually the larger of the zones. And just to follow on that counter issue, there it is, cleaned up. Not a big deal. Like I said, I'm going to live with it. There is no hidden movement. It's not like these need to be flipped over or anything for gameplay. They're always going to be face up. And so the way the counter currently is works fine. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with one of these stronger units right here at the Ramadi Bridge to get into this justice compound. At the Omar Bridge, we're going to go with a 4-2, a couple of 2-2 units, a 2-1 unit, and then a 1-1. Now, I haven't played, I don't know any of the strategies, so this is not a strategy video. This is just a playthrough of me learning the game. Now, if I get to a point where I play this enough times and I get good enough at it, I might do another video. Now, I watched somebody else's playthrough to help kind of get the rules down, and one of the things that they do is they had got some counters or some cubes to mark where operations are, unresolved operations. I thought that was a great idea. I got some plastic cubes here. We're going to use those. And then you're going to need 2 6-sided dice, okay? Red will be the ISF, yellow will be ISIS for combat resolution. Okay, the other thing that I've got in these counters are the, let's get the correct ones. Yeah, okay. So the ISIS counters are separated into 3 different groups that you're going to be pulling from, okay? And you'll see this when I get into the first combat. I'll slow things down and describe it. But basically what we have are a bunch of chits. These are assets, okay? You have foreign fighters, which have a strength of 3. You got some air defense, which are unique, have a unique ability in dealing with if there's air support, civilian shields, and a Mars. These are worth victory points if you can eliminate them. So basically, and there's some IEDs, and I believe that, yeah, and there's attack markers, which signifies a counterattack. So there's, what, 3 of those in here? So this is one chip pull. And with each operation, you're going to pull 3 chits for ISIS, 1 from each of these pools. So that was the assets. These are actual ISIS on the top side. On the back side, you're going to get whether it's militia, local specialists, local SF, special forces, and they've got a combat value. Okay, that's the second chip pool that you will pull from. And the third one are your IEDs and different types of IEDs, from poor, which have a 0 combat value, up to complex, which has a 3. So you can get a 0 to 3 combat result. Same with a number of the ISIS and asset chits. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and put our markers over here for our victory point counts, which are not on the board yet. Our casualties and our victory points. Okay. Now, you have 12 counters, which are your ops counters. And on the back side, that means that hex is cleared. Okay? There's 12 of these. You only get 12 in the game. Those mark hexes that are controlled when you don't have an actual unit in the hex, okay? And if you were to move through a hex, and you'll see it when we play, a hex that you controlled, you would leave one of those in. And then if there's an attack, that 3, if that gets pulled, that just means there's going to be a counterattack, and there's rules to define which hex that they attack, and they get 1 counterattack per turn. So in the worst case scenario, you're going to pull one of these all 10 turns. That would be a bad day, as it says in the rule book. Okay. So we've got our setup there. We've got our chip pools set aside. Got some counters, we got our dice. We've talked about the ops. Okay. And then what else we have are our air assets that come as a British bomber, the drones, there's 2 drones, and American assets. Okay, those are going to go over into the available pool. Now, I'm not going to play the optional rules as much as I want to play with these drones, but you get basically a British and American just to be representative, but they tactically don't have any difference. Okay, so we're not going to be using the drones. You do have ground assets, tank, special forces, artillery, a breacher unit, and these have some unique rules and bridge. Okay, what you do on your ops table, or excuse me, on the sheet, is you've got your north, your west, and your south sectors. Can't quite see it. Let me move this slowly over. So you'll see you've got your north, west, and south. And I'm going to place these in these regions that can be used as support. Okay. Once one is placed, if you want to move it to say from south to west, you would move it into this transfer box. It waits a turn, and the following turn you could move it into the west to be deployed on that turn. So let's say it was turn 1, I'm in the south, I'd move here. Turn 2, it's moving. Turn 3, I can put it back into play in the west. So I will get those set out here in just a second. Sorry for the movement of the camera there. Let's get that kind of centered a little bit so you can see the whole board. Talk about my strategy here, and then I will put my ground assets accordingly. Now, having not played, I'm not sure what it's going to take to win. So again, do not follow my lead. Knowing that this is our stronger force here in the west zone, and I put some of my stronger units more to the east in the north zone, with this complex being key. The plan is to cross this bridge, which is 1 hex, 2 hex, 3 hex, 4 hexes to get to the complex. This is your weakest units down here. I think what I'm going to do with them, I've got two choices. I think the first turn or two, I'm going to be a little passive with them and just see how the game plays, because the 2 thoughts that I have, there's 3 things I can do. One is to just go along here and pick up these urban spots here, right? And try to just pick up some victory points over here. Each one of these is worth 1. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even if I just got this part. The west is going to move through here and across. Pretty straightforward. Excuse me. With some support coming in from the north group coming across this bridge here. Okay? To pick up all of this area here. So you've got 5 victory points, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 victory points there. There's 5 potentially here. With this unit coming down, maybe picking up 1, 2, 3, 5 is 8, and then probably a few in here. Okay. The other thing to do with this unit is to push around and up. Although I'm going to run out of, I've only got 4 units down here. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just kind of leave them, then these are all going to be occupied, right? And I don't use up any of my occupation chits. The other thing is, right here, it's 5 victory points. And it's only 1, 2, 3 away. That's 8 points if I'm able to get these and keep my line of command. So that's another thing. The ground forces, the ground assets, you can use 1 ground asset and 1 air asset per operation. And then basically they're going to be out of play for the next turn. So it's like you get to use them every other turn. One of the stipulations with the ground assets are you have to be able to trace a line of supply or line of control back to your starting hexes. So if I say I've got some ground assets in the south and I get to the Ramadi station, but then there's a counterattack that breaks my line of command back, I can't use ground assets to help support those isolated units. That looks enticing. 6 victory points. I got a 3 and a 2 and a 2 and a 1. Now, when you take a casualty, it gets flipped over as such and goes off the board. It stays off for 1 turn and then comes back the following turn, and I can deploy it in any one of the sectors that I want. And then depending on the hexes that I have under my control, I'm able to move through and place those units a little more freely on the board. So, and what happens is as you're taking casualties, what we're going to do at the beginning of the turn is we're going to roll on this ISF operations table. So if the casualty count is 0 to 10, we can get anywhere from 3 to 5 operations for that turn. Conversely, if we have 20 or more casualties, we're going to get from 1 to 3. So the more casualties that we take, the less operations we have, which in effect makes us weaker. Okay? So we want to try to minimize the casualties that we take, because that's going to give us our best opportunity to achieve our objective. And also, casualties equal victory points for the bad guys. And we'll get into the victory points. There's a number of, in the rule book, there's a number of different ways that's calculated. And then terrain does come into effect in dealing with combat resolution. But like I said, once I actually start playing, I'll slow down and kind of go through that so you can see how an actual turn is played at kind of a slow motion.